What if the villain of Genesis wasn't born bad at all, but mishandled, misunderstood, and pushed into a destiny he didn't have to choose? Today we're going behind the curtain of the Esau story, the parts they rarely tell in simple retellings, and tracing the hidden threads that start before he even takes his first breath. Rebekah's pregnancy is our first clue that this is no ordinary tale. She knows the difference between a normal kick and the kind of turmoil that seems to tear in opposite directions at once. The Torah describes her distress vividly. It wasn't a mother's routine discomfort, but a spiritual alarm bell. When she passed by places of idol worship, she felt the baby strain to get out, as if drawn to the noise, the smoke, the chaotic energy. But when she passed a house of study, a place already existent in that era, according to the sages, she felt the same urgent push toward the doorway. How could a single child lunge toward both extremes? Idol worship on one end, the monotheistic path on the other. Rebekah, a prophetess herself, takes her question not to gossip or speculation, but to God. Through Shem, the son of Noah, who is portrayed in tradition as a great sage with a house of study. "What is going on inside me?" she asks. "What kind of child reaches for both worlds?" The answer reframes everything. Two nations are in your womb. Two peoples will diverge from within you. One will rise as the other falls. This is not a single soul torn in two. It's two souls, two futures, two unfolding stories that will always interact in tension. Harmony isn't their mode. Seesaw is. When one ascends, the other descends, and history will bear that out in ways both intimate and global. When the twins are born, Esau arrives first, ruddy, covered in hair, looking strangely complete. The Hebrew name Esau echoes Asui, made or finished, as if he comes into the world pre-formed, fully developed in a way infants do not. His brother follows, hand clasped around Esau's heel. Yaakov, Jacob, the one who grasps and later supplants, but also the one who refines slowly instead of arriving ready. From their first moments, their paths are etched in contrasts. The Torah doesn't flatten them into tropes. It sketches a rich divide. Jacob is a dweller of tents, gentle, inward, living a life of study and reflection. Esau is a man of the field, kinetic, adrenalized, a hunter who thrives on risk and the thrum of the wild. He wants action, impact, the rush of a chase. Within a family called to bring ethical monotheism into a rough world, you could imagine two complementary callings. Jacob's wisdom anchoring the home, Esau's strength guarding the borders. But the story turns on what each of them does with those impulses and on how their parents relate to them. Here, the text speaks with surgical precision. Isaac loved Esau because of the game in his mouth, while Rebekah loves Jacob with no stated cause. In the original Hebrew, the verb tenses and the phrasing matter. Isaac's love is framed around something Esau brings: game, meat, the spoils of the hunt, which some commentators read as tangible provision, others as the craft of persuasion in Esau's mouth, a capacity to talk smooth, to present himself as better than he was. Rebekah's love for Jacob arrives without condition, perhaps nurtured by prophecy, perhaps because she senses which son will carry the inner covenant forward. None of this means Esau is cartoonish or devoid of virtue. On the contrary, the sages emphasize he excelled in honoring his parents. He dressed with care for Isaac, served him handsomely, and made a visible effort to bring joy to his father's table. Kibud Avam, honoring father and mother, was his strong suit, even as other parts of his life spiraled. That's what makes Esau psychologically real. He's not pure darkness. He is a man with a bright spot, even a noble streak amid glaring shadows. But complexity can become a mask. The Midrash sharpens the picture. Esau at times cut corners in pursuit of game, seizing animals not his own, then returning home to present the feast and claim, "God helped me find it." He could charm and deceive in the same breath, offering Isaac the results he craved while fogging the truth of how he got them. The phrase "game in his mouth" thus reads two ways: literal game and the art of trapping with words. Esau also tries to mirror Isaac's life externally. Isaac married at 40, Esau marries at 40, but he chooses wives steeped in idolatry, and even within Isaac and Rebekah's household, they burn incense to foreign gods. The smoke, tradition says, stings more than the eyes. It eats at the sanctity of the home. The Midrash paints a stark consequence. Isaac's sight dims under the sting of that idolatrous incense. The narrative you know of a father who cannot see when it's time to bless begins here in a haze of smoke. The day the story flips is a day of mourning. Abraham has passed away, and Jacob prepares a mourner's dish, lentil stew, simple, round, symbolizing the cycle of life. Esau returns from the field exhausted, drained, ravenous in body and spirit. He begs for the red stew, his appetite urgent, his horizon narrowed to the present moment. Jacob sees a crossroads. "You're the firstborn," he says. Do you truly want what that means? The spiritual charge, the responsibility to serve God in the line of Abraham and Isaac? The Torah is blunt. Esau despises the birthright. He trades it for immediate relief, for a single bowl of lentils. This isn't only a bad bargain, it's a world view. The birthright represents a long arc, service, continuity, a role that will demand more than it gives in the short term. Esau chooses now over forever, appetite over calling. Jacob, for all his imperfections, chooses the opposite. This is where people often freeze the narrative in place. Esau the brute, Jacob the saint. But the Torah refuses such easy boxes. It moves us next into the chamber where blessings will be passed, and there the moral world becomes murkier. Isaac wants to bless the firstborn with the covenantal future, the third pillar after Abraham and himself. He knows Esau's strengths. Perhaps he also senses Jacob's inner path. What he doesn't know is the whole story, the birthright sale, the prophetic thread Rebekah carries from the moment she visited Shem. Rebekah does know. She also knows the garment Esau keeps close, a special cloak he won by force, tradition says, from Nimrod, the mighty hunter king who once defied God. The garment itself has a legend. Tracing back to Adam, it carries symbolic power over the beasts. Esau doesn't trust his wives with it. He leaves it with his mother. On the day of the blessing, Rebekah acts. She clothes Jacob in Esau's prized garment and covers his arms and neck with goatskins to mimic his brother's hair. Isaac, already dimmed, can no longer rely on sight. He smells the field on the clothes, touches the roughness, and hears a voice that feels like a paradox. The voice is Jacob's, but the hands are Esau's. He blesses Jacob. He invokes abundance from heaven and earth, nations that will serve and bow, a mantle of leadership. Words that once spoken take on a life of their own. Then Esau walks in with his dish and the room changes temperature. He realizes the blessing is gone. The cry that follows is raw. It isn't the roar of a hunter, but the heartbreak of a son who discovers too late what he has lost. "Bless me too, Father." Isaac trembles to his core, but he doesn't retract. He affirms, "The one I blessed remains blessed. The die is cast." Isaac does offer Esau a different blessing, of dwelling away from the fatness of the land, of living by the sword, of periods of dominance that will come when Jacob slackens. It's a hard path edged with violence and yearning. Esau weeps, and then he burns with a new resolve. If I cannot have the blessing, I can at least take vengeance. Pause here, because this is the question that echoes through centuries. Did Esau ever really have a chance? Was he written into the script as the other, the one who must fall for Jacob to rise? Or is there another reading, one that preserves free will while honoring the text's prophecies? A great theme in Jewish wisdom answers carefully. Rebekah and Isaac raised twins with one educational template, the approach that fit Jacob flawlessly. It's the path of tents, books, inward cultivation. But Esau is wired differently. He's a man of the field, a doer, a builder, a guardian by nature. He needed guidance tailored to his soul. Chanok lana ar alpidarko, educate the child according to his way, as Proverbs says. Help him turn the hunt into provision rather than plunder, courage into protection rather than domination, passion into sanctified strength. Instead, he's measured against Jacob's yardstick, and he doesn't fit. This doesn't erase responsibility. Esau had choices, and he made them. He embraced the immediate. He married into idolatry. He turned charm into deception, strength into threat. He sold what was priceless for what soothed him that afternoon. But it does complicate the tale. Under different guidance, his hunting might have been holy, his leadership just, his energy a shield around the fragile light Jacob kept. Two nations struggling in the womb might still struggle, but the struggle could have been productive rather than destructive. Quick pause. What do you think? Was Esau doomed by destiny, or did he squander a better path? I'd love your take in the comments. And if this kind of deep dive into the layers beneath famous stories is your thing, tap like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. It helps more people find these conversations, and it genuinely supports the channel. Back to the ark. The tension between these brothers doesn't end at the blessing, it widens into history. Esau becomes Edom, red like the stew, red like the land, whose line will one day be associated by the sages with Rome and the broader Western empires, rising when Israel falters, falling when Israel ascends. That prophecy Rebekah received, two nations, a seesaw of ascendancy, plays out across centuries. But in the micro, the family drama, the themes stay intimate. Honoring parents can coexist with spiritual failure. Sweet words can lend cover to dark actions. A child, born ready, can skip the inner work that prevents talent from corroding into vice. And a gentle scholar can stumble into deception when he feels heaven's plan requires it. Even the details carry moral charge. Esau's treasured garment tells us about identity and power, about where we source our strength. Nimrod's cloak represents dominance gained by force, a mastery over nature that dazzles the world. But it's borrowed glory. When Jacob puts it on, the scent Isaac notices isn't only the smell of the field. Tradition says the fragrance of Eden rides those fibers for a moment, as if the garment remembers what creation was meant to be. That split second between a field that tempts and a garden that beckons is where so many of us live. Which scent pulls us? Then there's the stew, the lentils, humble and round. They sit in the middle of the narrative like a parable. The roundness symbolizes a cycle we don't control. Life, loss, renewal. You eat mourner's food not to forget, but to accept. Esau, returning from the field, cannot endure a cycle. He is stuck in the point called now. He is exhausted, starved of meaning as much as of food. He craves something immediate and red, and he trades his horizon to taste it. The Torah's language, he despised the birthright, isn't about a one-time deal. It describes a stance toward value. Is there anything in your life you're tempted to trade for a bowl of red? Something urgent, vivid, but small? The story warns, don't. A final word about the parents. Isaac's love for Esau is not a flaw. It is a gift. He sees the image of God, even in a son who frightens him. He delights in what Esau brings, perhaps hoping that love will draw out the good. Rebekah's clarity is also a gift. She carries a prophetic map and the courage to act when it matters. Their tragedy is not that they loved wrongly. It's that they didn't tailor their guidance to two very different souls. When you give the same shoes to a runner and a climber, one will limp, Educating according to his way is not indulgence, it's wisdom. So who is Esau, really? He is the child whose kicks foretold a split world, the young man who honored his father with tenderness and dazzled with charisma, the hunter who confused power with purpose, the husband who brought idols into a sacred home, the brother who wept when he realized blessings can't be rewound. He is not beyond sympathy, but neither is he beyond judgment. His life asks us to aim our strongest traits toward the highest goals and to guide the people we love in ways that respect their nature while refining it. The Torah does not invent villains, it profiles human beings at full scale, and then it asks what you and I will do with the parts of Esau and Jacob inside us. History unfolds and the seesaw continues. At times, Edom will tower and Israel will shrink. At times, Israel will shine and Edom will fade. But the secret of the story is here, in a mother's troubled question and a prophet's answer. Two nations, two destinies, one moral law. When strength marries truth, blessing holds. When appetite overrules calling, even the mightiest cloak cannot keep you warm. And when we choose to educate, love and lead according to the soul that stands before us, we honor a wisdom older than any empire. That is what they didn't tell you about Esau, and what the story has been telling us all along.